What is going on, everybody? Joe Hutch here, and welcome back to another video. In my community post that I made on my channel, I promised that I would be making videos that were pertaining to the hiring process for Avon Police or Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, things of that nature. My hiring process, going through Avon Police Department, going through the academy, and here we are with my recap and explanation and kind of explaining the hiring process for basically all police departments. Now, as many other officers on YouTube or other people that are pursuing this career, everyone mentions that the standards and the testing and the things that you go through are going to differ from department to department, and that is true. So, we're going to talk about my experience going through the physical and written exam today and what that entails in the general hiring process beyond just the physical exam and the written exam. More of the steps like the polygraph and the psychological exam and the application and the background investigation and things like that. So it's not going to be a crazy long video, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it, my experience, and what maybe you can expect. So, just so that you know, Avon, Indiana, which is where I applied, the Avon Police Department. Avon in Indiana is not a big place. You know, it's considered a town. It's not a city. So when I went in for the physical and written exam, upon entering the physical exam at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, which is where the Avon Police Department held their physical and written exam, was the ILEA, the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, there were 70 applicants that came, and there were over 300 that applied. They said generally they see a 24% turnout rate, which means that's the amount of people that come compared to how many that applied. So say 1,000 people applied to like a big city. If there's 500 that applied, or 500 that came and actually showed up versus the 1,000 that applied, that's a 50% turnout rate. Only 50% showed up. Generally, Avon only sees 24% people show up. There were 70 people there, which makes sense because the chief of investigations that we met with on that morning said that over 300 people applied for 5 positions, which is what they had open. 300 people were competing for 5 positions, and then only 70 showed up, so they missed out on the hiring process for them. They're going to have to try it again at another place because you have to go through all the steps to be hired. You can't miss the physical exam and just, I don't want to do the physical exam, I want to take the written. It doesn't work like that. So, 70 people were competing that morning when I was there for 5 positions. That's for a little tiny town that nobody knows about. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's super tiny. They're about, I don't know how many, 15,000 residents? I don't know. But there are only like 29, 30 officers working at that police department. Now think about that. 70 people are competing for 5 positions in a little town that nobody's ever heard of compared to the rest of the world. Could you imagine Los Angeles Police Academy, New York, how many people would be there that you're competing against for probably 1 position? That's how competitive it is in other cities like New York, Los Angeles, California, and I am grateful that I applied to a small place where only 70 people showed up. Imagine 3,000 people or 50,000 people, not all showing up, but imagine an auditorium full of people, full of applicants versus just a little room of people, which is what I experienced, thankfully. So if you're in Los Angeles, New York, big metropolitan cities, expect so much more competition. And the standards will probably be a little bit harder than what I did. So, standards for the physical exam. In order to continue in the hiring process, you had to pass the physical exam, and you obviously have to pass the written exam. You have to pass every portion of the hiring process. Physical exam, the standards, I mentioned in the last video, the physical and written exam process. That video, if you want to go check it out, it's on my channel. It's in the video section. So, written exam, physical exam, we're talking about the physical, my bad. You had to start with a vertical jump. You had to get a 16-point-some-odd inch vertical jump, which isn't too hard depending on if you're athletic or not. I mean, some people, I think 99% of people did it with no problem, even if you never practice a vertical jump. You can get it because it's based. Everyone has a fair chance at it. You raise your arm up as high as you can. Sorry about that. You raise your arm up as high as you can, and they will then lower the bar to the correct height at the tips of your fingers, and then you jump as hard as you can and slap the little sticks on the vertical jump. I saw one guy, I think there were 1 or 2 people that didn't make it out of 70, so that lowered the application pool by just 2 people, 1 or 2 people. It's not hard. some places are going to differ. Again, this is going to differ from department to department. I think I read one department somewhere in the country in the U.S. has like a 19-inch vertical jump. I don't know how true that is. I don't know if that's some sort of Mandela effect going on with me, and I don't remember it correctly, but standards are going to differ from department to department. So don't think that what I'm telling you is what is going to be expected at your department or at the place where you're applying. So the vertical jump, that was pretty easy. Got it on the first try. You have 3 attempts to do it. You have 3 attempts for the vertical jump at Avon. Again, this is going to differ, so my words and the standards are going to differ from where you're applying. So what I'm saying, don't take it 100% that it's going to be the same at your department or where you're applying. It's going to be different. So vertical jump, 16 point some odd inches. Did that on the first try. You have 3 attempts for that. And I think that's the only part in the physical exam where you had 3 attempts. So then you go on to after the vertical jump, we did the sit-ups. You had to do 29 sit-ups in 1 minute, which isn't hard. I did it in about 29, 30 seconds. I saw about 3-4 people get knocked out of that. And then, that's the kind of the sad thing about it is if you fail any portion of the physical exam after the number of attempts that they give you, again, it's going to differ. But if you fail any part of the physical exam, it's over. You're done in the hiring process. And that's so weird to think because, I applied months in advance to even going to this event, the hiring process, and it's so weird to think that if you fail one thing, if you fail jumping, the whole hiring process is done. You don't have another chance to get back in. And it's insane. It's mind-blowing. It's just insane to think about. So we did that. And then after that was 29 sit-ups in 1 minute past that. And then the next thing was 25 push-ups in as much time as you needed. Now, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have given us 4 hours to do it, but 10, 15 minutes maybe. I mean, as much time as you needed. I don't know how much time that actually was for them. But that was super easy. They weren't even push-ups. So you get in the push-up position, and the guy puts his fist like this under your chest. And they say lower and touch your chest with the top of my fist, and then you come back up. It's about 2/5 or 2.7 of a push-up. It's not even a full push-up. It's not even halfway down. I mean, it depends if you're a girl and, wherever you touch on your chest, women typically have bigger chests than men. That's just how it is biologically, and they may only have to go down. As long as your fist as long as your chest touches the top of their fist, that's what they consider a push-up. So I went, this is me in my up position on a push-up. The seat did its thing again. So you lower about that much. That's what they considered a push-up. And you did 25 in as much time as you needed. I did that in about 19, 20 seconds because they weren't push-ups. And I still could have done it even if they were supposed to be full-fledged push-ups. But they weren't. So for some reason, we did like half push-ups. That's what they considered a push-up. It would have been harder if they had their fist like this as opposed to this because you get less height like this. But so I did that. That was easy. And then we did the 300-meter sprint and the 1.5-mile run outside on the Evoke track, which is where they train police officers how to drive and whatnot and go sharp around corners and things of that nature. So the 300-meter sprint wasn't hard physically, but the part that sucked about it was that it felt about 10 degrees outside. I had gloves on, had a long-sleeve shirt out on me. That was it. So it was hard because breathing in that cold air, sprinting as hard as you can. You had 74 seconds to do it, I believe. 71, 74 seconds, somewhere around in that area. And I hauled butt. I did it in about 35 seconds. And I shouldn't have because I could have taken my time. And it resulted in my respiratory system inflaming as well as a whole lot of people because it was cold. Breathing in cold air really fast swells up your throat, swells up your lungs. My lungs and my throat were burning. It was so unbearable. It was so painful, and it lasted about 20 minutes. So, thankfully, it did die down by the time we got to the 1.5-mile run. Time to beat in that was 16 minutes and like 35 seconds, and I did it in 13 minutes, which isn't bad for someone that doesn't run. I don't run. And one person got eliminated from the 1.5-mile run. Now, after the physical exam, we were given time to do whatever we wanted, to go eat, to go to the store somewhere until 12 o'clock, which is when the written exam took place. So at 12 o'clock, we had to come back, and it was about 9:30, 9:40, 9:50, somewhere around in that area when we were done with the physical exam. Online, in the little virtual packet that they give you, the little hiring process that you can read. It says the physical exam would usually conclude about 11 o'clock. Thankfully, we got it done at 9:50, so I had about 2 hours and 10 minutes to do whatever I want. I went to Walmart, I dressed in my business casual clothes, and I got ready for the written exam. So the written exam wasn't hard at all. This is something that's really going to differ from department to department. Most departments have the vertical jump, the push-ups, the sit-ups. The 1.5 mile run is really the mile run is usually something that every department does. So if you don't like cardio, you're not going to like the hiring process for any department. So the written exam wasn't hard. The hardest part about it was sitting through it, because we had a 2-hour study period. We went into this little classroom in the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, and it looked like a college classroom. You know how the floor slants and there's tables in rows that go down and get smaller as they go down? Well, maybe not smaller, but the floor slants. It looks like a college classroom, like a big college classroom. And by that time, there were about 50 of us left, so 20 people were eliminated by the time the written exam rolled around. So there it was, and we were given a little study packet, which gave us the exact materials and things we had to memorize to get ready for the written exam. Some written exams in other departments, you may have to study online or look up what maybe the department written exam entails, or maybe you just have to study basic things that department says you should study prior to the exam. Thankfully, they literally gave us a study guide with everything we needed to know, and you had 2 hours to study it. So I studied it, and most of my test for the Avon Police Department hiring process, the test that they gave out had no math whatsoever. That's something that you're going to find in a lot of the police department hiring processes in the written exam, is that you're going to find a lot of math. Not hard math, but just basic math, to see if you know basic math. Division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, things of that nature. I was so anxious about that portion of the test, and there was no math on the test. For Avon Police Department, there was no math whatsoever at all. The majority of the test, the written exam, was memorization. Memorize this photo of a crime scene, a fake, made-up crime scene. Memorize this photo of a holdup. Memorize this layout of a room. Memorize this city blueprint, where this road is, where this house is, where this building is. And I still remember some portions of the little diagram of the city that we had to memorize. There was Tony's Car Restoration Building, Fire Station 32, Hotel California, Spring Loaded Factory up on the bottom right, which is where the suspect was apprehended. I think it occurred on February 21st. St. Marcellus High School, Jefferson Airport, was it Pablo's Restaurant? Yeah, Pablo's Restaurant, Scooter Park. I still remember a lot of things from the test. So I spent most of my time, about an hour, about half the study guide period, half of the study period, focusing on the memorization. There was also a portion where you had to memorize faces that you would later put together, crimes that they committed. You know, they'd show you a face on the actual written exam, and you'd have to A through D, which crime did they commit, or what gang were they a part of. And it wasn't really hard, because I would match their faces up with what they did, just with like keywords of my own. Like, there was one guy that said that he's a prowler in your patrol area and he comes out at night or whatnot, and he had like a big receding hairline, big goofy glasses. That wasn't the actor that they portrayed looking like the prowler looked like a prowler, so that was pretty easy. So that's what we did. Like Los Angeles, New York, you might get subway maps and diagrams to memorize, which they had study portions online of that actual map, like a subway map, which is, thankfully I didn't have that part because it looked like it was pretty hard to memorize. But I'm fairly sure I passed the written exam. I haven't gotten the results back, but this whole hiring process will continue or not if I pass the written exam or don't. And I think I did. I really think I did. It wasn't hard. I think about 60 questions were about the memorization portion on the written exam, and then the rest were like, what is diversity? What do police officers face with diversity in their patrol area or in their community? And really easy questions. You just had to read the paragraphs, read the information that they gave you on the study guide, and you should be good to go. Now, that might not happen at some of your police departments, because it's going to differ. As I say, it's going to differ from department to department. So 2 hours for the study period for the written exam, and then when the written exam rolled around, we had a 15-minute break, and then written exam, and gave us a little Scantron. We got 2 number 2 pencils, and what else did we get? We got like 2 or 3 forms throughout the whole written exam process where we had to sign that we gave our rights away for our test results to be shared with the company that does the testing and whatnot. And then we took it, and it wasn't hard. 125 questions, had an hour and a half to do it, which was not enough, admittedly, but I still did it to the best of my ability. And yeah, so that's a physical and written exam portion, and I'm pretty sure I passed the written exam. Now, what entails after the physical and written portions? The structure of the hiring process is going to differ as well. You might not do the physical exam first. You might do the written exam first. You might do, I don't know if there's any police department that does the polygraph first, but you might do the written exam and the oral board the same day, and then the physical test. You know, it just differs. So you should take things that I say in this video as a basic guideline, but you shouldn't take it as something that's definite for your department or the place you're looking to be hired on, because it's going to change. I guarantee you, standards and the testing, 200 million times different for like New York than Avon, because Avon's just a little community. New York is huge. Los Angeles, California, these big metropolitan areas. Testing's going to be different. So just take my words and what I'm sharing on this video as a basic guideline and an outline for you to do what you need to do. And be dedicated. I can't tell you enough how dedicated you have to be to go through this hiring process, because if you fail one portion of the physical exam after the amount of tries they've given you, you're done. And there's no, can we try it one more time? Or there's no, I got to do it again. You just have to let me do it. I saw one guy fail the vertical jump, and he was done. They sent him home. He turned in this little number that you pin on your shirt, like a little, kind of like a track. Mine was 534. You take that off, you turn it in, you get your ID back if you gave it to him. I don't think we did. And you go home. That's it. And I was running through that cold weather for the 1.5 mile run. Didn't really hurt my throat, but it was exhausting. But I had to do it because this is the job I want, and I did it. So if you persevere, you will do it and you will overcome it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next. And I will keep sharing videos of the hiring process as we go along in this journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hope I pass that written exam.